Welcome to Uncanny X-Minutes, where we bring you the comics behind the movies. I'm Producer James.
And I'm Stasia.
And we're here to watch The Wolverine, minutes 80 through 90.
Do you want to know what happens during these minutes, James?
Please do.
Mariko argues with her father. Wolverine and Yukio fight Shingen while Wolverine removes the bug on his heart.
So, that's all stuff that happens. But more importantly, there is a scene where there's a bit of Yukio hanging out with Wolverine. This episode might be a bit of a stretch, and I don't care because I've talked so much Wolverine that we're starting to run out of some of the material.
There's a lot. I mean, we knew that this was potentially the inevitable conclusion of all the Wolverine movies, where it's just like, well, how much...
We're almost done with the second out of 3.
I know.
I guess 4 now because there's Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's more of a Deadpool. There's so much more to talk about.
Wolverine in that one.
So there is a scene, Wolverine, Yukio, and it just reminds me of a different young Japanese superhero mutant, and that is Armor.
Yay!
I figured, why not talk about Armor in a more expanded fashion than we have previously.
We've talked about her very briefly when we were talking about Wolverine's proteges.
We talked about that. We've also talked about the Astonishing X-Men run where they have Ord from Break World.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know, I can't remember why we talked about that one before.
I can't remember doing that, but maybe we did.
I remember talking about it, but I don't remember where
and why.
But she's in that, and I remember talking about parts of that.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, I know what it was. It was the Danger episode.
Oh,
the Danger Room episode where Danger gets sentience.
Right.
She is part of that, and we'll go into it briefly. But honestly, there's a few big Japanese Marvel X-Men mutants that can be talked about.
Yes.
And she is one.
Yeah, and I'm really excited too. So, Armor. Her real name is Hisako Ichiki, and her superpower, as it may seem obvious to you, is that she has kind of Psi Force armor. It's see-through. They
call it an exoskeleton.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like she has a robot around her. It almost looks like she gets into a mech suit made out of psionic energy.
Right. And so it's and it can be blue or red.
I feel like it was blue early.
Yes, and also in the Nation X run, we can talk about it. And then some other parts too. She goes from blue to red when she gets upset about something.
Yeah,
I think they've generally dropped that.
Yeah, I think it's just mostly red now.
Yes, but it was there, and we actually talked about her very briefly during the Muramasa episode because it is basically impenetrable, except Wolverine's claws, adamantium. But he still can't reach her because she kind of floats in the middle of the armor.
Yeah.
There is a lot of space between the armor itself and where she is.
And it does change in size.
Yes, that isn't immediately true, but is added on to her powers really early. And we'll talk about kind of how that happens. But yes, generally that's how it works. Her powers are also fueled by her ancestors, and once, which is in that Wolverine run that we were talking about, the Muramasa Blades, it's been talked about as it's also powered by the memory, which is why the Muramasa Blade can't cut through it. I haven't really seen that come up again, but it is powered by her ancestors and people who she knows that have died.
I feel like it's a hard thing to bring up again.
Yeah, because it's so...
what does that even mean? How do you bring it up without it being very Claremont of just so we all remember, her powers are fueled by
Claremont, though.
I know, but in the way that
yes.
Wolverine's skeleton is laced with adamantium is mentioned in almost every issue that Claremont writes because it might be the first issue you pick up
that you read. Which and that was very much the memory thing was part of a larger story that they were telling with the Muramasa Blade and history and memories, and Wolverine and memories are also intertwined. And she frequently pops up there.
Her first appearance was Astonishing X-Men number 4.
Yeah, that's 2004, right?
Yeah, and she was created by Joss Whedon and John Cassidy.
Yes, she was. So she is actually a relatively new mutant. But
before this movie was made.
Yes.
So that's important. That's not,
true.
But I think it's important.
I think it's important because they could have put her in here.
They coulda.
And they didn't.
No,
Which
I
is
think she's an
interesting.
expensive power.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, she is an expensive power. Because how are you going to have her float in every
Right.
single scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. She's also not in the original storyline. We talked about this at the beginning.
No.
So, like, it kind of made sense if you. This movie sticks weirdly so close to the actual comic.
So far, yes.
Honestly. Well, yeah. But, I mean, for its runtime, it's doing a lot. So,
She is actually introduced. We had talked about in the Danger Room episode where she gets attacked by Ord from Breakworld.
yeah. Irrelevant. You don't need to know who
Irrelevant
that
to
is.
what's going on, except for the fact that this is one of those cure storylines.
Yes.
And her best friend Wing gets cured. He's just a guy who can levitate, like he can fly.
I bet you we talked about this in the Cure.
We talked about it in the Cure, and I think we talked about it because this is the one where the Danger Room tricks him into committing suicide in the Danger Room.
Yeah, it's
But that storyline is Armor's first appearance.
yes, it is.
So when they get attacked in the hallway, we don't know either of their powers. No, I think we know he can fly.
Yes,
We don't know her power because she doesn't have a code name at this point.
right.
But when they get attacked, all of a sudden this I think it's blue armor at that time, just appears and she clocks Ord
Yeah,
like through a wall.
yeah, and I think his line is something that says, "Congratulations, you've managed to surprise me,"
Yeah.
and that it's like scary, and
Right.
but it's so good, and like. The reason she's wandering around the Axe Mansion is because she is one of the kids. Like, she's
Yeah.
introduced as the kids. And this is, like, post-Jubilee, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about
Yeah.
2004. So, like, we've kind of... I would order them in terms of, like, protege and eras. You have, like, the Kitty Pride of the first kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have Jubilee.
Yep, that's your 90s Jim Lee.
Yeah. And then you get Armor.
Yes. Because then
And-
Quentin Quire is after that.
Is after this. So, but relatively close. She is in the Wolverine and the X-Men as well.
Yeah.
But she's kind of a tutor in that one. So she's like in between those, but not as far apart as some of the others are.
Yeah.
But she's kind of like this, she's still, we've talked about the sliding time scale. She's older-ish because she is older in Wolverine and the X-Men, but like generally she never makes the X-Men team really.
She is in the X-Men team in Astonishing X-Men only because she's not so much a castaway. She ends up going with the X-Men to Breakworld.
Yeah.
And so for quite a few issues while they're dealing, this is the Colossus is the world breaker prophecy thing going on, and they're with Sword. It's a whole thing. She basically not stowed away, but she accidentally came with them, and
Yeah.
they sort of deputize her as an X-Men, and during that run, she is an X-Men.
But like being realistic, she's not usually running with the main
no,
team.
because that's the thing. After that run, I feel like she's demoted back down to the
yes,
kids.
she is. Yes, absolutely. I feel like Jubilee has this problem too. Sometimes.
Yeah. I think sometimes when they need you, you're an X-Man, but then when things have calmed down, okay, now go that way.
Yes, absolutely. Like, you know, and I think this is jumping far ahead, but she will bring it back how like she's such a major character, but sometimes it feels like she disappears. She never makes any of the X-Men teams in Krakoa. Like
No.
at all, which is
No.
crazy.
I think we usually don't review too much, but I feel like she's a character that they wanted to be important, and she is there and helping, but she never gets to shine
Yeah.
like some of the other characters.
Yeah.
Like when she is an X-Man and she is with Wolverine and they're on Breakworld, like her biggest character choice, quote unquote, is like choosing the name Armor and getting made fun of, or not even get made fun of. A little bit Wolverine kind of is like, that's kind of an obvious name. That's like if I went by Claws. And it gets in her head. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't bring it up again. He just calls her kid like he does anybody.
Yeah.
And she's just like, should I not be named Armor? Maybe I should be named something else. Like she's just in her head about it. And that's literally it.
Yeah, it's like hard sometimes because of the age category that because in the Astonishing X-Men, this is her introduction. She's solidly a kid.
Yeah.
There's also in that run a moment where like Cyclops like mentions offhandedly like hey, her and like the equipment are heavier than it looks because he's carrying Armor who's like passed out, and once she like wakes up and hears him say that, and like there's like multiple panels where she's like, am I fat? Like, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a teen girl, like whatever. They're like leaning into that. So like sometimes it's weird with her because you're like, oh, is this like her actual personality, or is this like you're 16-ish or whatever the general age that they are, and like that's part of the story. It can get a little tricky with Armor too, because like you said, I don't think she's developed in later runs as much.
You know, it's like we were talking about Quentin Quire was one thing when he was in New X-Men.
Yeah.
And then he isn't interesting till later when he becomes way more of a character in Wolverine in the X-Men, and that's the character we know today.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh.
And like, I don't think anyone ever picked Armor back up and did something. Well, I take it back. We'll get to it later. But in the 616, I don't think anyone's picked up Armor and made her as interesting as she probably could be.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential with Armor still.
Yeah, I feel like there is.
Yeah, they've done a few things with her. So, one, during the Utopia era, like you can see that she is able to manipulate the shape of her armor to now have Wolverine claws.
Awesome.
And she snicks Danger as revenge for the death of her friend Wing, which is very cool, and like is also very like Wolverine-esque as like his protege when they were leaning into that. She is also one of the people that fights vampires because she has the bubble protection. Yeah. They call it like quote unquote tough skin team. And so she gets to go and be on that team because her powers are like, it's like a utility thing, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, anybody with powers that would make you invulnerable to vampires, please stand up kind of thing.
That's what Cyclops would do though.
Right.
It's
it makes sense.
It's pure strategy. You can't be bit. You on that team.
Yeah. And I will say in that Utopia using the claws, the other thing is she gets trained when she's on Astonishing by both Wolverine and Cyclops. Cyclops is teaching her tactics. Wolverine is teaching her how to fight because she's so defensive. And so they're trying to like show her like how to use her powers differently. And that's where the claws come from. And I really liked that arc where that happens. And it culminates in like them building Utopia in Nation X #3. And you see her use the snicked claws and everything. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, she does a lot of defense work and a lot of like falling on people because she's invulnerable when she's in the thing, but you are not if she squishes you. Some other fun, interesting facts about her in Wolverine and the X-Men. She's in this run in the 2014, which is like the second Wolverine the X-Men title, which is very confusing. Yeah. But whatever.
Yeah.
In issue 4, we've mentioned this before, but there are little bamfs, which basically look like mini Nightcrawlers. And it's too much to go into where they come from. And
I feel like we talked about it in detail. I think it was in the, I think in our Azazel episode, we talked about what the Bamfs were. So you can go back to that.
You can go back to that if you're confused. But they're basically little mini knife crawlers and they can teleport both. You find out during that run when she's fighting that Bamfs can teleport into her bubble.
Uh-oh.
And then they take her out of her bubble. And the armor kind of slammed, like it just becomes solid. And there are a couple issues where she does it. She's not inside the armor anymore. And
but that's interesting because during M Day, she's one of the 198 that kept their powers.
Yes, that's true. Well, so it's
interesting that
pretty quickly,
right? But it's interesting that there is a moment where she isn't able to use her powers.
Yes, very briefly, and I think maybe this is why. So, like, it's issue 4 where that happens. She gets frustrated because she's trying to get back into it, trying to make it work, but it's invulnerable. So she ends up accidentally breaking it in issue 8, and then in issue 10, after Wolverine dies, which is not a spoiler because it happens all the time. He gets better,
and we'll get to it.
She like physically rebuilds it, which I think is really interesting.
I haven't read that one.
So it's not like it. Yeah, it's in Wolverine and X-Men. It's like it's a really short scene, but like she is using tools to rebuild the armor in a way that isn't just like a projection out of her like mind, like you would imagine psionic energy. Yeah. Like no, she's like building the parts and like putting it on her arm and like using screwdrivers and stuff. It's like quite weird. And like I'm not convinced that that's necessarily like a thing that they've maintained, but it like makes sense for that storyline if she's able to be like teleported out of it and then it becomes solid. Like that would make sense.
Yeah, I guess you could think of it as like you've removed it. Like it's almost like the energy is within her, but now she's been removed from the energy. She has to like still reabsorb it, but she can't reabsorb it from the outside. She's got to do it from the inside.
Right. And like we talked about, it is in the shape of like a robot. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that it like falls apart into pieces. Though, again, I feel like these are parts of the story that have been, the crumbs that people have left that people haven't really picked up.
Yeah.
Because like, is it actually a machine, or is that just like the way that she thinks about it? Is this an Iceman situation where like her powers are actually much greater than they seem at first, but she just hasn't untapped that full potential?
Man, I would love someone to dig into that.
Come on, it's right there. I it's just I think it's like pretty interesting. And so her powers, there are also a couple other things too. We talked about how it changes size. And this is, again, in the Astonishing X-Men run where most of this is going to come from. Listen, if you're interested in armor, read the Astonishing X-Men run.
Yeah.
That's what you should do. That's where you're going to get most of the juice. But in 36, that's where they talk about, like, how her armor is powered by the strength of her ancestors. And also during this run, her mom and brother die. And like she's doing like a testing session with Wolverine, and like her armor like explodes in size. And then when they're like, what's going on? She's like, I think somebody died. And then her cell phone rings and it's her dad. And it's this very traumatic, really sad, honestly quite moving story about her going back to Japan where the team goes with her, and like family and all this stuff. And there's like this feeling of like, could she have been there to protect them, or would she also have died? Because it's just a car accident. It's not even it's not like an evil villain. It's nothing like, I mean, maybe there's a retcon later that who knows, but in
it was
the
actually
way,
the Winter Soldier all along.
Right. But in the way that it's presented, right. And it's like a really compelling story. And then also like she gets really giant. She fights basically a kaiju in that little mini part of that run. And it's because she's like thinking about her parents and her sister and her brother and her mom and her brother. In any case, I think that her powers there's a lot of potential. A lot of the stories about her have like dropped these little crumbs, and we could do a lot more with her. I have one other story that she's been in that I want to talk about, but I want to know if there's anything that you want to add to this that we haven't talked about yet.
Not in the 616, because I think I jumped around a little bit and found that every time I started reading a storyline, I'm like, she's just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
She's just the muscle. She's just like, they're not letting her shine personality wise. It's more like she's just kind of there. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. It is. It's kind of a bummer. Do you want me to do one last 616 before
one.
we do Ultimate?
Yeah, I read a bit of the Ultimate X-Men run. So,
okay.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay, so sticking to the 616, official background for her. There is one story kind of like, not exactly post-Krakoa, but as we're about to wrap up Krakoa, as we're getting to the end, and it's basically, she's with the New Mutants. And she's part of that storyline.
Makes sense. I think she'd either be New Mutants or like the Young X-Men with like Mercury and Rockslide and one or the other.
Yeah. So it's a weird one. But we've talked about the story, so I'm not going to go into major detail. But she's actually part of the Beak storyline where they go pick up Beak and Angel to bring them to Krakoa, and they fight off like. They try to cure Beak's dad, and then we have the cartel.
They got doxxed.
Yes, and then there's this whole thing, and then Boom Boom is there, and then they try to escape
I remember
to
Boom
Krakoa.
Boom being there.
Yeah, and like her role, besides just being like, part of this, and like you said, these are the people. There's Glob, Angel, Beak, Boom Boom, who's not original, but she's in like the Cable New Mutants.
Yeah,
and all those people like. There is the point where at the end of the story, her role is to talk to, there are twins, Manon and Maxine, and they take away the memories of the bad thing that happened to Beak's parents. And she is tasked with Armor is teaching them that you can't take away people's grief and to never do that again, which is like I only bring this up because it is kind of a reference to a little bit how her powers work, right?
Yeah.
Like it makes sense for her to be the character to be like, grief is like, it's sad that these bad things happen, but sometimes this is important for people to grow. And like, you know, she delivers that message, but unfortunately, from my understanding, and this is, you know, that doesn't really get picked up again.
Yeah.
Like it's this side plot story that happens that we kind of don't really deal with, at least not from Armor's perspective anymore.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it feels like another missed opportunity when she's so underutilized in the era. But I think she's in some newer stuff, so I haven't read yet, but we'll see. Hopefully they're doing her a little bit better now.
Yeah, I don't know, because like I haven't read a ton of her. Like, if I've read stuff about her, it doesn't jump out at all.
Okay.
You know? I will say, just looking at straight up, like the reading order, the comic book reading order that we sometimes, or the complete Marvel reading order website, that her last appearance was during the fall of the House of X. So nobody's picked her up since then. So this new era, she hasn't really, I mean, it's new, hasn't been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But during this era, we do get some Armor stories in the Ultimate Universe. So no, I don't usually like digging into the Ultimate Universe because it kind of feels like a what if. I know it's not. It's all connected. And people from the Ultimate Universe do make their way into the 616. So,
but
like,
generally, we try not to confuse
I feel
people.
like X-Men doesn't do that. I think that's a Spider-Man thing.
It is.
It's a Spider-Man thing. It's a Fantastic Four thing. It is not an X-Men thing. X-Men have enough side universes to worry about.
Clones, like everything.
Multiple futures that can happen.
Yeah,
we have enough going on that we don't mess with the Ultimate Universe. But Peach Momoko, which we have mentioned during the Mariko episode, has been writing and drawing the Ultimate X-Men line that has nothing to do with any of the Ultimate lines that are going on right now.
Incredible. Maintaining the true X-Men dichotomy from the Marvel Universe. I really appreciate that.
But it follows Armor as a young schoolgirl who doesn't really realize she's a mutant until she's being chased by a shadowy monster, and she's on her bike and she almost gets hit by, she gets hit by a car, but the armor shows up around her. It's like a reflex. And the armor almost feels like, because like when armor is shown in like a normal 616 comic, it feels like a puppet. Like it feels like however she's standing, the armor is around her in the same position.
Yeah.
This, Peach Momoko draws it in such a way where it feels like it has a mind of its own sometimes. So like she's riding a bike, like hands on the handlebar, but the armor when it shows up is in a protective stance. Oh,
I like that. Much more like Doctor Strange's cape a little bit.
It feels like, I don't know if it's got a mind of its own, but it feels like she can control what it's doing. More so than we've ever seen it in the 616. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's Ultimate, there are other Japanese characters that get to hang out with her. So like Nico Minoru shows up.
Oh yeah, I love her.
And I'm not quite sure if she's magic or mutant right now, which is kind of nice. Like I only read like a handful of it. Surge shows up. I forget her real name.
I can look it up while you name people.
And then there's a new character named Mei, M-E-I, that seems to be kind of Stormish.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's got white hair, she's got the lightning bolt earrings, but it seems like Storm is a thing too. I don't quite know. But it's a little more there's more of a drama going on with this shadowy monster that's like seems to be following her specifically.
Okay.
And Peach Momoko's style very much shines with those kinds of like, it feels like a Japanese anime story.
Yeah. Like a school.
But not in a bad way. Not that's a bad way, but like if you're not into anime, you would still like this.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. It's not so overtly anime, but I think that there's a lot of tropes and imagery and influences that this has.
Surge is Noriko.
Noriko.
Yes.
That was the name I was looking for.
Yeah.
So she's in it too. It's fun. It's fun. I feel like she shines a little more. So like everything we've been saying before, I think is kind of solved in an Ultimate X-Men run, which normally I completely avoid.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on in the 616. Why am I going to mess with the Ultimates? If I recall, the Ultimate Universe reset. Like it was destroyed.
Yes, it was.
And Miles Morales is now part of the 616. And now it's come back again. So, like, all of the titles have re-upped. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's going on in the other titles. I don't care. I don't want to know. All I know is the X-Men title is real good because it basically has that Demon Days feel.
Right.
Of, like, this just could be an alternate story using characters that you know and love in a very pleasing, delightful art style.
Yeah. I wonder if that is how they're going to. I agree. I don't want to dip my toe too much into the Ultimate Universe.
Dip into this.
This I might.
Yeah, you should.
As long as it's like not a second universe that I need to keep track of. That is like kind of what dissuaded me from the original Ultimates universe. Because
it's been around for so long.
And then you're like, okay, I can't start over on everybody. Like, I just can't do it. Which, like, but I do get the appeal. But if this is going to be stories where you can, if you're a new reader, you're just going to dip in for an interesting story and dip out. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world. But I'm kind of curious on what they're going to do with this. Because, like, Pichimoku is relatively popular. Yeah. And so I'm sure this run is relatively popular. So
I think we're at like 20 issues in at least. 20 some issues.
Okay.
So no, it's running. It's not a one and done thing.
That's really cool.
I guess if you don't know who, I mean, I know this is an X-Men podcast, but Nico Minoru, I guess if you don't know who she is, she's from the Runaways.
Yes.
And she is magic. She has the staff of one. It's a family heirloom, and the Runaways are a bunch of kids who find out that their parents are all villains.
Yeah. And it's like, it's the Brian K. Vaughan.
Brian K. Vaughan, which is also pretty solid. And has Molly, Princess Power, I think she goes by.
I think so.
Who is a mutant. They have one mutant on the team. But she's someone who doesn't mess with the X-Men. She just hangs out with the Runaways. That's all there is to it. Maybe not all there is to it. She does show... I take it back, though. Was it Battle for the Atom? The storyline where a future X-Men come to the current line to warn the X-Men about something that's impending.
Yeah.
She is one of the X-Men. An adult Molly is one of the X-Men that shows up.
Okay.
So that is the only one I would say that she messes around with. But
it's really hard to escape the X-Men if you're a mutant. Even if you don't want to, they find you. Listen, it's inevitable. It happens.
She looks pretty tough, though, is the thing. Like, when she shows up,
she looks very cool.
She looks really cool. She looks like an awesome, like, cyberpunk bruiser.
Yeah.
But anyway, this isn't about that. So I would say, yes, if you want to read stuff about armor, Astonishing X-Men.
Yeah.
I mean, you could start at the beginning. The run is pretty good. And she is part of the team for a lot of the run. Or if you want something that's a little smaller and it's got a little more charm, I would say. I would actually say the Ultimate X-Men run that is currently going on, which I don't normally.
You might want to read both, because if armor seems compelling to you, there's not a ton of her. I mean, she's stuff, there. But like there's not a lot of focus. And so finding the stuff that really focused on her is going to be a little bit tougher, I would say.
I would agree.
Yeah. She's part of an ensemble, not usually the main star.
Is she have you seen the X-Men anime?
She is in that.
That's what I thought.
You could also watch that. I love the X-Men anime.
I need to watch that.
You haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it yet.
I am a sicko, and I've absolutely watched it. And I've watched the Wolverine one, too. You know, there's a different one that's just Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
And then you know how much I don't really care about Wolverine, but I did anyway, because I'm like, well, I'm going to read all of this. She's not in Evolution, which like felt like it, but I think she was too new.
I don't think I think when Evolution started was around the same time,
Yeah.
so they would definitely not use her.
Yeah, so which is
but
like
Wolverine and the X-Men she could have been in.
yeah, she's not in that.
She's not in that.
No.
You won't see her in 97 either.
Wolverine
Sorry.
and the X-Men is definitely, we talked about this very briefly, but Wolverine and X-Men is more actually weirdly replicating the movies.
Yeah.
So that's why she's not in it, because she's not in the movies.
Yeah.
But yeah. So your choices are these two, the anime, X-Men anime, and that's kind of it for now. And for now.
For now. That's what we'll say.
All right.
That will wrap it up here. I'm producer James.
And I'm Stasia.
And we'll see you for the next 10.